Okay. My name is Ashok Ramasubramanian, and I hereby call to order the Town of Niskayuna Conservation Advisory Council meeting for September 2002. In the absence of Dot Strayer, me, Ashok Ramasubramanian, will be chairing this meeting. And we will start with the roll call. Myself, Ashok Ramasubramanian, present.
Yep, I also see Mickey Weisehold and Chelsea Ratner and Ellen Daviero are online, and Clark is here as well.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
But they weren't quite done for this meeting, so we're going to defer those to the next meeting.
Okay, approval of the meetings is deferred to the October meeting. The next item is privilege of the floor. I do not see anyone in person in the town board room. Laura, is there anyone joined virtually?
There's none and no comments either.
There is none and no comments for the privilege of the floor. We will moving right along to the environment assessment forms, and we are going to be talking about EAF 2022-04, 1747 Union Street, the Razada Mart addition. The CAC has already looked at it in a previous meeting and proposed some changes and recommendations. And Laura, do you want to provide a quick summary?
Yeah, and Ellen, tell us if you're going to jump off because we need you to do the vote on this one.
I'm here.
Okay, so I put on the screen the updates. I think at the last CAC meeting, the CAC wanted to see a landscaping plan, which hasn't been completed yet. But I know that he's working on it because he was emailing me constantly for the tree council comments, which I only sent him yesterday. And the planning board is requiring the landscaping plan as well. So we don't have the landscaping plan, but it is forthcoming. There was concern about the traffic flow. So they did change the spaces. So like when you guys saw it before, there was a handicap space that was just sort of hanging out here that was really disruptive to traffic flow. So they changed it so that there's a minimum of 13 feet around the building at all times. I'm going to go back to the agenda statement. Hi, Steve. Okay, Ellen, if you have to go now, we have Steve.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, so, yeah, and then I think there was also concern about the parking and the shared parking across the way. I don't actually think, and Clark, correct me if I'm wrong, that they have coordinated with the pizza restaurant, but I don't think the planning board was as strong about asking them to coordinate with the pizza restaurant. So, but generally speaking, the majority of the plan is the same. But I do know that a landscaping plan is forthcoming, and unfortunately, due to meetings, I am asking that you guys try and make a referral tonight.
Laura, could you provide some context on what the tree council, like what their involvement in this is? Because I'm not seeing a lot of trees in.
Yeah, because they haven't done the landscaping plan, but I can show you. So, what's the name of the guy that comes and represents the applicant, Clark? Oh, Daniel. Okay.
Daniel, yes. And I guess I think the site will basically be going from no trees at all to having some landscaping, right? It's pretty much entirely pavement right now, isn't it?
Yeah, so he sent an email to us today at 3:20, yesterday, sorry. I keep thinking today's Tuesday. That he was adding curbs to channel the entrance exit areas. And they are also adding curbs to help with the Complete Streets comment of people being safe on the sidewalk. And landscaping plan is forthcoming. As far as the tree council comments, I can share those with you.
Just a couple other comments while Laura's getting that. The planning board asked him to clean up the site quite a bit. I guess it's quite messy. There's just a lot of things kind of stored on the property and it's not very clean. And there's a lot of things plastered on the windows to the building that they asked him to clean up. So they really want him to make the overall site much, have a nicer appearance than it currently does.
Yeah, so the tree council's comments were kind of the left front corner planting bed, so that this guy down here, oops, this one here, the tree council noted that there was existing arborvitae there that look okay. There's space to add 2 trees, potentially, but they would have to be 15 feet or less because of power lines and sight lines. In the middle planting bed, along Union Street, there's a long, narrow planting bed that's completely empty. There's only a few weeds in it right now. They felt that 3 trees will fit, but they need to be narrow, so they don't interfere with above electrical wires. But they did think that you could fit 3 narrow trees there. They recommended that they all be the same species. And then the right front corner planting bed, so the one on the opposite side there, this one over here, the tree council noted that there's currently 1 large shrub, which should probably be pruned. There's a small arborvitae to the left of the shrub. They do think that there's enough room that you could add at least 2 narrow trees in this planting bed as well. So they felt like you could add between 4 and 6 trees, and their recommendations were columnar crabapple, columnar English oak, columnar sweet gum, columnar rose of Sharon, or narrow ornamental pear. That's the tree council comments.
Thank you, Laura. In a place where currently no trees exist and there is a chance to put 4 to 6, small trees, better than no trees at all. I think that's an improvement. But that is the tree council recommendation, right? The applicant has not said whether they would
Put them in yet.
put them in yet. So would it be possible to finish or to go through the EAF and say, okay, the CAC recognizes the hard work of the tree council, and we'd like to put a few conditions in the EAF, but otherwise we are ready to move ahead. Would such a thing be possible?
Yeah, I definitely think you can do that with conditions. That's a pretty, I think, important thing. Like, to Clark's point, I know that it's not necessarily CAC purview, but the site is also messy. So like with just signs and weeds and, so general cleanup is also, I think, important for the environment, but adding landscaping and trees definitely can be a condition if you guys so chose.
And I'd always like to put our standard paragraph of
energy
efficient lighting, strongly consider not using pesticides of any sort at any time. The things that we always say to any proposed development. But does any other persons have any other comments?
I guess just one other thing, I'm not sure we mentioned, they had to go to the zoning board of appeals for a variance because they were expanding the building a little bit more than code allowed. It allows a 25% expansion of the existing building, and they were expanding it 33%. I think it was an extra 128 square feet. So they did get that variance from the zoning board.
Yeah, I see in the packet that, so that was like a unanimous vote of 7-0. So I'm assuming the ZBA did not have any significant issues with that. At least that's what I'm reading in the packet.
They did not. It was the seventh case after 3.5 hours, but yes, they did not bring up any issues.
Okay, fair enough. Clark, could you expand a little bit on the very important cleanup, rubbish removal aspect that you mentioned, so that when we go through the EAF, we can find an appropriate place to stick it in?
Sure, sure. What I remember, and Laura, you can expand on this too. I know Kevin Walsh, the chairman of the planning board, had driven around the site, and he had noticed in the back of the building there was quite a bit of just kind of miscellaneous items kind of stored back there. Maybe pallets,
There were some
delivery
drums.
boxes type things. So he wanted to make sure that that was picked up.
Yeah, and just to tag on to that, the county did a referral, but they wanted to kind of continue to work with the town of Niskuna on the site because they've been trying to do Upper Union Street, streetscapes cleanup. And this is one of the sites that they've had difficulty working with, and they want to make sure that we are reinforcing what, their goals are as well.
I did see the letter from Ray Gillen, so that's not the sort of recommendation one ignores.
Yeah, they
So-
want the site cleaned up.
Yeah. Let's make sure that that the site cleanup is part of our EAF approval
Sure.
as a condition.
Where it is. Yeah. Okay.
If-
We'll,
go ahead,
we'll
go
keep that, we'll look for opportunities to plug comments in as you go through the questions. Hey, Shar.
Yeah, I mean, I can put it up on the screen. I guess they did remove the clothing and shoes box. I can here. I'll put it up here. But just general site cleanup, in addition to landscaping, probably does have an environmental benefit. Let's see if you guys can see. Just so the clothes bin apparently has been removed and won't come back to the site, and that was pretty unsightly because it just wasn't taken care of, and a lot of the clothes kind of people would just dump there. But like in the back, you can see here there's a lot, like there was drums and things. And another thing that the zoning board actually did comment on, they had one comment, was that the signage, on this facade is kind of excessive. They have just an unbelievable amount of stuff in the front. So they asked him to calm it down and make it more in harmony with the rest of Upper Union Street.
Okay. Yeah, that is something we can insert. I'm sure there's a question about like local character or something like that I remember from doing this form before. If there are no other comments, I'm ready to move on to the happy form filling portion of our meeting.
Okay. So
Okay.
will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
I think this is where the it doesn't create any conflict as far as I can see, but this is where we insert the county's wishes.
Yeah, I think that's so no conflict, but should conform to Schenectady County, kind of Upper Union Street corridor economic development plan.
Yes.
Okay. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? I would say that's probably small because the increase in square footage would
Mhm.
theoretically bring in some additional customers, and we did have those parking, concerns. But it's probably small, not medium or large.
Okay,
That'd be my recommendation.
that's fine. And the applicant says in their application that it will provide improved access to food and drink for the local community.
Yeah, I forgot to show you that on the plans. Wait a second. But on the here. They're redoing the inside, and so it should make the inside a whole heck of a lot better. Right now, the inside, it's difficult to get over to the counter, and this is like where over here is where you pay like for your gas and your things, and there's really just one aisle and then a cooler that I guess people can't go in anymore.
Mm,
But like this will make it look more like a normal gas station, and you'd pay at the front. You can pick up all your cool beverages over here, and then it's set up
okay.
like with a better flow on the inside. But that is due to the expansion that Clark was talking about there.
And I think one of the things Ashok might have been mentioning is I know they mentioned at the planning board, there are quite a few residents who live near this store, and it's actually a walkable place that they can go and get groceries. So that was one of his reasons for wanting to have the expansion, because it does serve a need in the immediate neighborhood for a walkable grocery store.
That is a very valid point, Clark, because when people think about Niskayuna, people don't think about, what we are looking at right now. People are thinking about ShopRite and other parts. So if it serves the grocery store needs of people nearby, that is a very significant point.
Okay, so we could add to number 2, it's an increase in customer and parking, but we encourage the walkability to the
Yes.
surrounding community
Yes.
for like just walkable options. Okay. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
That's where I would say no, but again, the cleanup of the drums and whatever is back there that is not supposed to be there. Also, that seems to be a good place to add the trees. I'm looking at the satellite photo here, and yeah, that place. If we can get the tree council recommendations and have 4 to 6 trees, small ones, that would be spectacular.
Okay. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? That's not applicable to this one.
Mhm.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
Well, more foot traffic for the nearby people who live there, but that, in my opinion, is a positive, not a negative.
Yeah, and I would also add that if they add the curbing, it's going to make the sidewalk better. So,
Okay.
so no adverse, potentially increased walkability will help.
Yes. I encourage my CAC colleagues to jump in. I tend to talk a lot, but if you have something to say, you can always jump in. Okay, just want to say that.
6, will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy or it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? We can just put our standard notes there.
Yeah, so put our standard notes like strong preference for renewable energy. If there's any lighting to be done, energy efficient dark sky type lighting.
Dark sky, that's a good one. I don't think we had that before. Okay. Does anybody else have anything? Will the proposed action impact existing public, private water, public-private sewer? That's probably not applicable. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Don't think so.
No.
And then 9, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
No.
I'd say no, but there again, I think maybe highlight the trees because
Yes.
there's really none in the area, and so
Yeah.
like just for people walking on the sidewalk to have shade and for cooling. So trees are critical here. And then will the proposed action result in an increase for flooding? It's really not changing any of the impervious surface. And then will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
No,
No.
I don't think so either. Okay.
Just saying, like, where would be a good place to insert our standard comment about pesticides?
11. Don't you
Yeah, environmental resources or
Human health?
or human health. Like we talked about new landscaping and all that. You know, would be a good place to mention the town has a new pesticide-free pledge, and we encourage all homeowners and businesses in the town of Niskayuna to refrain, to the extent possible, from the use of toxic pesticides. So,
think? Yeah. Mhm. I actually don't know. I don't think that came up on the planning board, like where they store snow over the winter. Yeah. Some sites are so constrained that they'll pay the contractor that does the snow removal to haul it off site. But I don't know if this one has a snow pile in a corner but we could ask where the snow storage is. Just as a question. Snow storage. Yeah, it's getting colder. It's cold enough in here to snow, feels like.
I can't wait for ski season to start.
Okay, so I'll just put a note that we were wondering where the snow storage is going to occur.
Yes. And that's it, right?
So you need a motion for.
Okay. I propose that we give this addition of premises to the Razada Mart a negative deck. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Chelsea seconds. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye. Aye.
So
Any opposed?
any opposed? Any further discussion? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Ashok. Okay. So we did that one a little out of order. Do you want to go back to sort of privilege of the floor and talk about your Bethlehem Conservation Easement Exemption Program?
Sure. We do have an audience member. Acting chair acknowledges Dr. Mary O'Keefe of Union College. Mary, are you just here to observe, or would you like to take the privilege of the floor and raise some issue that's conservation related?
I don't have an issue, but I do want to say I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm a public policy economist and find this fascinating. And as a Niskayuna resident for over 30 years, I'm really grateful. So I'm just here to learn about the process and try to translate into the class that I'm teaching my senior economics majors. We're actually focusing on Schenectady, but what I'm learning here can inform that. So thank you for.
Well, it's not as exciting as Game of Thrones or the new House of Dragons, but I'd like to think that we all have a lot of fun in these meetings.
Yeah, I put it. That's what I have. I don't have your other one.
Oh, okay. Outstanding. As a discussion item, I'd like to propose for discussion some of the outstanding programs that the town of Bethlehem has in regards to conservation. And I'm really hoping that we can implement something like this in our own town, in Niskayuna. So I sent you all an email with some brief details about Bethlehem's conservation easement exemption program. After I sent the email, I realized that I had this nice PDF, which I sent over to Laura and Clark, and Laura has it on the screen now. So I will briefly explain what it is. So for those of you that may not be familiar, a conservation easement is a legal maneuver that landowners can undertake where they still have ownership for the land, but the land cannot be built upon, or their character cannot be changed. So if you're a landowner who has some forest in your property, and if you have a conservation easement on it, it means that the forest stays as a forest, even if you sell the land to somebody else. If you're a landowner who owns a farm, and if you have an agriculture easement on it, then the property stays as a farm, even if you sell it to somebody else. So here's how the town of Bethlehem's conservation easement exemption program works. So if a landowner agrees to not have any development in their land for a period of 15 to 29 years, they get an exemption of 50% on their taxes. And the tax exemption applies to the town of Bethlehem central school taxes, as well as Albany county taxes. I was able to talk to them briefly to get some clarification on this. If there is a building on the property, then that property is not included in the tax exemption. The tax exemption applies only to the land. Okay. And then there is this scale, 30 to 49 years. Then they get a 75% exception. Then if they say, well, it's a perpetual easement, then they get a 90% exception. So it's a significant savings to the town. And I've also highlighted some sections in the first column. These benefits provide wildlife habitat and water quality, flood protection, always an important thing, as well as protecting the community character and scenic views of our town. So the town of Niskayuna is currently undertaking the new comprehensive plan development, and that process is still in its early stages, but this is something that keeps coming up. Like, people really want to save or preserve the character of the town. Very few people are in favor of building up every single parcel that can be built up. And also, Niskayuna doesn't have a lot of properties out there that are still wild space. So this seems to be a really good program that Bethlehem has led the way. It takes a while to get there. It requires a town board resolution as well as a vote by the state legislature. And your person, what's for us, it would be Phil Steck. That person has to be involved. Once the town board gets behind it, that person has to shepherd it through the state legislature. I'm told that, the getting approval from the state legislature is more or less formality, but it does take a lot of procedure and this and that to get to that point. But the first step is to hold something like a public comment period, get the town board's backing. And Clark pointed out in an email to me, I'm sorry, Clark, I didn't get a chance to read it fully, but I took a quick read through it. It does mean less revenue for the town, because if you say you don't have to pay taxes, well, then the town gets less revenue. However, considering that a lot of wild space and farmland in Niskayuna, we don't really have that much of it, I am thinking that the loss in tax revenue, the town should be relatively small. And if you balance that against like long-term property values, if every single available parcel is built up and the town starts to look like Lower Manhattan without skyscrapers, then obviously property values are going to go down. So when you take a look at long-term point of view, this seems to be a really good plan. But of course, Clark's point about loss of revenue and the workload for the planning department are well taken points. So, Laura, you have any?
Oh, I think Chelsea has a comment.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
So just to clarify, is this any size parcel of land as long as you're maintaining like those ecological areas, et cetera, or is there a minimum requirement?
From 5 acres or more. So there's a minimum required for 5 acres. So my backyard is about, say, like 0.05 acres or something like that. And I can't
It's
say,
more than that.
I want to have a conservation easement on it. Please give me 5% reduction in my property taxes. Not going to happen. You need to have 5 acres or more.
You're probably like a quarter of an acre.
Laura says, I probably have a quarter of an acre.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Well, it's interesting here also, Ashok, that it looks like the town, the school system, and Albany County are all on board with this and are all participating.
Mm-hmm. So the way they have structured their tax relief is that they get tax relief from the school system as well as the county. There's no reason for us to structure it exactly as their blueprint. We can say we'd have some reduction in property taxes and leave the school taxes untouched. I think that's where we need to take a closer look at our town's budget and see where there is room for movement.
Mhm.
But Laura, I want to state this for the record that I would never put extra workload on the planning department. So I really would like to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, I know. I think it's a fair point that Clark is making. Like, that we just like do cost benefit analysis on programs a lot. But so what I find interesting about it, I mean, yeah, Rob Leslie is the point of contact, which I think probably has to be, but it appears to be run by a 5-member voluntary board
Mm-hmm.
where their names are at the end of it. I don't even know that there's that many 5-acre parcels. I mean, I think like if we were to work with Jim and like literally like just do a GIS analysis of 5-acre parcels left in Niskayuna undeveloped,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a long list. But one thing that I was just wondering, when you say that there's a home on it, if there's a home on the 5 acres, does that mean it's completely taken off? Or it's just that the home is still assessed the same and the underlying land is assessed differently? You're not sure about that? Okay, yeah. Because because like I know, and when you look at the tax roll, it has improvements and then it has a land value.
Yeah, in our area of the world, taxes are mainly on the property.
The structure.
And that's why the loss of revenue generally isn't too significant.
It shouldn't be. The land value usually is a very small portion of the,
When I first saw these percentages, like, whoa, those are pretty high. But I think they have to be high because I think your point in the long term is accurate, but in the short term,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not. Limiting the use. If someone owns 10 acres to sell it, it may be harder to sell in the short term. So this incentive needs to be notable to the person.
Mm-hmm.
but it's really rare for there to be a 5-acre parcel with no house. I think most of the parcels are going to have a house.
Sure.
And most of the time, the house is, 85% of what's being taxed.
Well, even still, if the landowner doesn't, if the house owner doesn't want to, develop the land that is not house and get a little bit of a tax break.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I wanted to understand that. I was wondering if that meant if there was a house on it in Bethlehem, it was completely off the table. I mean, because I don't think we could structure ours like that. If we were going to make a recommendation to the town board, I think it would be useful to just get a sense of how many acres are out there that, could potentially qualify. I don't think that would be super hard to do.
Yeah, the more I think about it, as they go to sell it, I take back my comments on it decreasing the value for same use. I think if it's the same use in homes like woods, it probably wouldn't impact it because whoever purchases it will like the woods as well. I think it's in those areas or potential areas of commercial or multifamily development where they could potentially sell for significantly more because it's going to be a different use. It's those potential areas where we may have a challenge getting people to sign up, but other areas we get a lot of participation.
Yeah, I would hope so.
And that's
I
what
do.
we're trying to fight against.
Right. Because, I do find that people who own large parcels do own them sometimes for a reason because they love the forest. But when they go to sell or they're downsizing or they're moving to Florida where their children live or whatever, a realtor will come in and be like, oh, well, you have all this extra land. If you're not going to live here anymore, let's get all the value of it as we can before you leave. And that's where it's super problematic. And that's where a conservation easement, I think, would just set the stage of, nope, realtor,
Yeah.
you can't do that. This parcel is going to be this parcel, and that's going to be the value of it.
Yeah.
And
Even
Laura,
though the landowner may not have the intent, even serving on the CAC for a year and a half, we have reviewed a couple of applications where a big lot is subdivided into smaller lots, like 2 houses where there just used to be one. And that sort of thing can happen can happen. And then fast forward 30 years, there won't be anything anymore. And if we set the stage with a conservation easement, which is a legally binding mechanism, then fast forward 30 years, more of that stuff would be preserved.
Yeah,
I agree, Ashok, and I was thinking because Niskayuna is so developed and built out, it would be interesting to compare that to Bethlehem. Maybe a 5-acre piece of land to them, maybe a 3-acre piece of property in Niskayuna would be more fitting because we do seem to do a lot of subdivisions into 2 lots or 3 lots, they're where we're losing those slightly larger parcels of land. But 5 acres is probably too big, but maybe 3 acres makes more sense for us.
Depending on the number, this appears.
Can you turn your microphone on?
This appears to be landowner driven, meaning they have to find the program and apply
It does look
for
like
the
that.
program.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the workload, you could do it the other way around and have the town be proactive and reach out, since we know the parcels, to introduce them to the program. Because I think, and have it be kind of a just sign here, okay, done kind of thing to get additional participation.
So I have 2 points. So if we are to adjust the minimum acre requirement, because of how our town landscaping looks like compared to Bethlehem, then I think we need to be looking at statistically like the average,
Mhm.
acre. We cannot just set arbitrarily like, 2 acre or 1 acre.
Oh yeah, it would be
We
good
have
to know
look
how
at-
many are 5, how many of them are
Right.
3. Yeah,
Right,
what
we
that
have to
threshold
look at
does.
that,
Hmm.
that kind of statistical, information. So that's my point, one. And another point is like incentive or motivation. So basically from this flyer, they are using tax, monetary benefit as a way to motivate the contribution and participation. But we can also look at the other ways to motivate people, contribution, because for example, we attend this meeting and we are volunteer group and we don't have any financial, benefit by attending this group. But, I can imagine each of us has some sense of like, pride or feeling of honor that we are contributing something,
Hmm.
for the, nature conservation, something good, for the town. So maybe we can explore other ways to kind of motivate the participation, maybe honoring, people who contribute, the ways to honor
Mhm.
and appreciate publicly, people who contributed their land, not just limited to the monetary benefits.
Mhm.
So that's,
I think that's a great idea. Like, for instance, like the Niskayuna Community Foundation always publishes a list of the people that like support them. Like you could publish, lists of people who are supporting conservation or, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, and at least see what
Maybe.
type of participation you can get.
give them
from
like a
that.
free Arbor Day tree or something. Go ahead, Chelsea.
So just like at a glance on the real estate MLS, only 64 homes since 1992 have sold that have at least 5 acres. And that's like excluding doubles I'd have to go through. And that's a very small number in the past
That's what I thought.
long time. So there's not many.
Well, this I take your point, Chelsea. I just wanted to say that the program also applies to farmland and industrial land also. We do have the, what is it, the Burger Farm near the river. That's pretty substantial, much bigger than 5 acres. It's also a bunch of companies that are in various stages of downsizing.
Well, yeah, but I think Chelsea's point is that that's a manageable number for us to work with, probably. Yeah. It's not that, oh, that's not very many parcels and we shouldn't do it. I think that's a manageable number that we can work with. And if you times, 60 by 5 acres, that's what, like a lot of acres.
That's 300 acres. Okay. Sorry, Chelsea, I misunderstood your meaning there.
It's all good. Don't worry. She's got me.
So we've had some discussion, and I don't want this to be the end. So what would be the next step for us?
So what I was, I will put it on our regular report items, but I
Okay.
think that if we're all pretty supportive of the program, we could put together like a mock-up of a Niskayuna program
Mhm.
and then vote on that and make a recommendation to the town board to take a look at it for adoption.
Okay.
Like it might require multiple meetings with the town board, like somebody attending the EDHP meeting again,
Okay.
to talk about the program, maybe potentially talking, scheduling a time where we could do it, we could do a presentation before the town board, like a scheduled presentation before the whole town board at a town board meeting that the public could watch. But I think the first step would be, if you guys like the program, would be, to try and create a mock-up, like to Chelsea's point, like, think about, we probably have around 60 parcels, over 5 acres. Like that's manageable. Look at some of them, look at, the taxes on some of them, kind of just to give the town board an idea of some numbers. And then maybe, like you said that you saw Rob Leslie's presentation.
Yeah.
Take a look at that and see what information they had done to present to their town board. Because I mean, they're very similar to us. So
Okay.
like, what did their town board look at? What did they need? Like, we can
Okay.
not have to reinvent the wheel. But yeah, I
Okay.
would say the end result would be, if we like it, would be to put together a program just like we did for pesticide free, just like we did for the natural resources, and forward it on up to the town board for adoption.
Excellent suggestion, Laura. So how about, so let me just ask my CAC colleagues that while everyone agrees that some tweaks will be necessary and we can't just blueprint the Bethlehem program, everyone is supportive of going forward with this using the mechanism Laura mentioned. Nobody is thinking like this is a horrid program, let it, we shouldn't talk about it again.
Yeah, I agree. There might be some more questions that come up, you know,
Mhm.
before a proposal is made. For example, a question of mine is, have they tested it before legally that it really holds?
Mhm.
You know, and if it doesn't, then oh geez, it's all a waste of time, you know. But I agree with you. Otherwise,
Okay.
it shows that it's a great program.
Okay. So I will lead it. I will take the lead, but I need a couple of people to back me up. I want to state here for the record that we are not putting anything on Laura's plate. So we come back to her next month and say, this is what the CAC, and we can email her for like a quick clarification question, but this is our work.
Okay.
So Chelsea, Mickey, and Steve,
Yep. Yeah.
and the student member too. Okay, all right. I'll speaking as the professor now. Okay, I'm going to give you tasks and things like that, manageable tasks. Okay, I know about unreasonable workloads. And Clark, I also promised not to put anything on your plate as well until we have a proposal, like a preliminary proposal for discussion.
Okay, and I can share with you guys. I know Chelsea, you're looking at the real estate database, but you can, if you go into Schenectady Internet Mapping System, it's tied
The famous
into
Sims.
yes, but it's actually tied into a Schenectady's ImageMate system.
Okay.
They're tied together, and so if you want to see how a parcel is taxed, you can go to the Schenectady ImageMate, and
ImageMate.
it'll give you an idea, like, of what I was saying. Like, my computer's so slow. That, you know, how much of the taxes on the home versus how much is on the land.
Okay.
So just that, so you can get a sense of that. Yeah. It's tied in with Sims. You can get to it directly from Sims, but you can also literally just type in Schenectady ImageMate. But
Can you spell that, Laura, please?
It's Schenectady and then image, IMAGE,
Mm-hmm.
and then space, capital MATE. And I don't want to, like, I
Okay.
feel a little bad because the only parcel that I know is mine, but. So see, you can go here, and then if you go to, like, see, the land assessment is 60,000, and the home assessment or the total assessment is 100. So the land is 60,000, and then the home is 100,000.
Okay.
Like, so
Okay.
you can get a sense of that, you know.
Okay.
And it also give you acres, like 2.72 acres.
Is there a way to filter it? Like, because it would be impractical
Well,
to do it for everyone.
You wouldn't be able to do it for everyone, but, you know, like, if you had 60 parcels and you did 10, you know, you know, kind of a random sample of like 10 parcels, at least then you could just sort of apply that percentage to the 60, I would think, you know,
Okay.
use a statistically accurate percentage.
Okay. Can you please send me that web link?
Yeah.
Just And it doesn't require any of your magical login credentials?
Nope. I don't know if you saw, but all I did was I Googled Schenectady County
Okay.
or Schenectady ImageMate, and then you just click here for public access. And actually, if you're on Sims and you click on the information button of the parcel,
Okay.
it'll give you a little home button, and if you
Okay.
click that, it takes you to ImageMate.
Okay.
That's how they're tied together.
Okay.
So this is Ellen. I liked listening very much, but I'm gonna beg off now. But I just wanted to say, I'll see you in October.
Okay, thanks, Ellen.
All right, bye.
Okay, Chelsea, Steve, myself, Simran and Mickey will be awesome and come up with a preliminary version of Niskayuna's conservation easement exemption program for October's meeting. Steve, I do have a quick data point for you. This has been vetted by their legal, Bethlehem's legal team. Yeah.
I do know that historic preservation easements are a long-standing tool, which is similar to a
Okay.
conservation easement. And historic preservation easements, where if you put your home into a historic preservation easement and you get a tax incentive, that's been around for a really long time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Moving on.
Discussion items.
Moving on to discussion items, we will next be talking about 2209 North Street, the Broken Inn, and the owner of the said establishment wants to have outdoor seating in the warmer periods, to have some nice awesomeness there.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary, actually. So I don't know if you guys remember, we did bring the temporary there was temporary emergency benching seating done there to separate the cars from the ice cream window. But we wanted the owner to come up with a proposal for something permanent, because the temporary seating is, white and yellow construction barriers, and that's just to protect people while we figured stuff out. So the town has a number of things that they've done looking at the reconfiguration of this site. This is the owner's proposal of what he can realistically do. He's not really asking for the town to do really anything here, I think, except for modify the approvals. He's willing to buy all of the infrastructure that you see, the curb stops for the little curbs for the cars, the benches, the landscapers, the tables, the bike racks. He's willing to apply for all of that. He did want to know that it looks on this site like this is stamped concrete or some different type of material. He's not able to do that. He would just mark the asphalt and put the public furniture out on the asphalt. So it wouldn't be quite as beautiful as this. I think it would be really awesome if there would be some way to get stamped concrete or even just concrete for the public areas. But that's the one thing. I mean, when the town did their assessments, it was like $300,000 to fix some of this. So this would be a way to help. I'm just like, this area up here is a no man's land right now. It's not perfect because the aerial doesn't go high enough, but Crescent comes in here, Clifton Park comes in here, the alleyway comes in here. And if you're walking or even driving, like, you just kind of pick where you want to go. Like, there's no lanes. There's like no good channels for cars or people. It's just mayhem. So what his proposal does is essentially fill this whole triangle up where he puts all of the public space along the building, and then he's pushing the parking spaces out. So they're filling that triangle of open space. So there would definitely be a lot more definition to where you'd turn onto Crescent Park Road, you know, where you get, how you get into the alleyway, how you drive along Crescent Road. It would definitely fill up that space of no man's land. It provides a ton of public gathering space, but it does create the cars essentially backing out onto Clifton Park Road. There's really only 7 feet between the ends of the parking spots and Clifton Park Road. So the police and the highway guys are trying to meet him out there to see exactly how close those parking spots are to Clifton Park Road. And that's obviously the condition that they just fixed on Knott Street. Clifton Park is a less busy road, but it's still not a great condition to have on any road.
Yeah, it's turning off of Knott,
Yeah.
turning right off of Knott.
Yeah.
on left.
Yeah, and there's a tiny buffer there because of the handicap space, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing is that both the planning board and I think Complete Streets possibly thought that this parking space here would be an absolute no man's land. Like if you opened your door, like, so I think one of the things they had said is make this into an island,
Okay.
lose the parking space and make that a curb or something that delineates the parking so that people are a little safer when they park their cars.
Laura, do you know if this is updated to the latest completed work there?
Yeah, it is. So
It is.
if you see like this giant bump out here is
Right.
what was built. What they did though is like where this
Right.
is I wonder if you
Yeah,
can
that's
see.
parking now.
Yeah, it's parking that actually like if you were to pull in your headlights
Yeah.
face Knott
Right,
Street.
right,
And
right. That's what I was questioning. Okay.
yeah, so
Okay.
this reconfigures those parking spots because, well, one, the highway department does not like those parking spots, but you know, rather than them facing Knott Street, this one has them facing all perpendicular.
Okay.
So it's using that space, but not the way that it's striped.
Got it. Okay.
This is very much in my neighborhood, and I know that crazy, lawless area there. There are actually 2 other businesses there, a dressmaker and a hairdresser. So, what do they feel about having patrons eating in front of their business?
Well, so their doors, this is the first door, and then the second door I think is even farther down.
Okay.
Or I could double check. But he actually has this kind of divided into 3 spaces. The benches are public open always.
Okay.
The tables, he said he would be willing to leave them out for really anybody to use during the times that the restaurant wasn't open, provided that they weren't vandalized or stolen.
Okay. Okay.
There's no guarantee of that. If he has issues, then he would pull the tables in.
Okay.
And then the bike racks and everything would obviously be public. So the only space that would be used by the restaurant is sort of enclosed by those, planters.
Okay.
And like I said, he would be willing to open that up when the restaurant wasn't closed, provided that there's not a lot of vandalism. I mean, it would be open
Okay.
anyway, but he may pull those tables if he has problems with people taking them.
And those bike racks would be next to Lange Pharmacy, right?
Yeah, they're larger than they would be in real life. The bikes are like as big as cars in that, but
Okay.
he said that he couldn't do that to scale or you couldn't see them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Lange is okay with.
So Langs is the landowner. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's actually the applicant. And then-
Oh.
I mean, he has to be. I mean, he
Okay.
has to approve the application.
Okay.
Sorry. Say that. So say that again about the ownership.
So Langs is the owner. Broken In,
Langs is the pharmacy.
Langs Pharmacy is the
Okay.
owner of the building.
Yeah.
The Broken In and the hairdresser and the tailor are all tenants.
So
Yeah.
Langs is
Yeah.
doing the work.
Well, no, the Broken In would do the work, but the Broken In isn't allowed to do an application without consent from the owner. I do think that among owners, there's a split in opinion, but the owner is okayed the application.
I would think it would give notable value to Langs in the building
Yeah, I mean,
to have the
like people, I think in general, and the Schenectady County plan isn't here, like the Schenectady County plan, but there's a notable lack of ability for people to still like congregate or sit or enjoy the access that's created to the businesses. There's just no room in the Knott Street corridor.
Chelsea, please go ahead.
I was just curious. I'm trying to remember for Crescent Road, is it a yield sign or a stop sign?
I don't even know if there is a sign.
Neither.
Oh, is there a yield?
It's lawless.
It's pretty lawless out there. It's there is no sign there.
Is there a yield?
So
Maybe
two
there's a
stop, I know that's a lot, but like maybe at the Clifton Park Road intersection in Crescent, if there was just a stop sign just to make people aware.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Like put a stop line on the pavement, put a stop sign. Yeah.
Right there. I
Yeah.
think it might help with that situation. I do like having that last parking spot be like a barrier to just prevent people from smashing into other cars. But I guess we'll have to talk to the highway department to make sure that would make sense.
Yeah. So stop line, stop sign.
Yeah, or stop sign, not light. Yeah.
No line. You paint the road.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
we are not filling any EAF
No,
forms
this is
today.
just
is
a very preliminary. So before Ellen had to go, she said she was concerned if they were able to stage like outdoor music or concerts out there, because that may be, quite a change in the character of the community to
That
the existing
would
homes.
be, yes.
So she wanted that question asked. I can write that you guys are also interested in changing last parking space to a barrier, and that, stop lines, stop signs need to be added to direct traffic. How do we feel about the public space configuration versus sort of the downfall of the cars situation backing out on Clifton Park Road?
I think
It's
that
supposed to be a slow road, so hopefully people aren't going too fast down it. And perhaps with the stop line, it'll prevent people from flying through and being more cautious. So I think it could work, but that's just my opinion.
obviously Complete Streets will look at it, right?
Yeah, I think Complete Streets likes the public gathering space.
Okay.
And they feel like it would invite more walk. So, okay, so the Complete Streets point was that the town configurations, which I didn't put in your packet, are protective to parking and add parking and potentially invite more driving, whereas they felt like this proposal, by creating more public space and making it still essentially like not super convenient to drive, that it would potentially invite more pedestrians and walkers to the plaza. That was their hope.
Okay.
It doesn't reduce parking, but it doesn't really add anything. He was saying that it adds 4 parking spaces, but if you lose the last one, and Clark only counted a change in 2 parking spaces, and if you lose the last one, you're really only gaining 1 parking space. But Complete Streets wasn't that interested in providing parking spaces to this plaza. They wanted to provide walking and biking spaces. But that's Complete Streets is,
Remit.
that's like their thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
From a conservation environment point of view, I am not wild about all this white lot of concrete non-green space. Like, if the past summer was anything to go by, it is going to bake.
Be hot.
And the number of days in which anybody can sit comfortably in these chairs is going to be extremely limited. There are a lot of more eco-friendly alternatives to pavement, like for instance, those square ones where grass can poke through, or it's not fully concrete, but the there's like some stonework, but in between the stonework, there's like a lattice. I'm not describing it well, but I hope people can
Yeah,
understand.
permeable
Yeah,
pavement.
permeable pavement, like that would help with the snow removal issue that Mickey was talking about, like rain drainage. So some ways of having natural land poke through and not all be like solid poured concrete, which would roast people in the in the
sun.
summer and have very poor drainage in the rain season.
Yeah, I have a question. So is there any reason why this table and chair area in front of the restaurant has several like planting beds and then this public like a seating area has no green?
I think it was just his preliminary concept, and he was trying to delineate the sitting area from the public areas. But yeah, I think Ashok makes a great point. Like, we need more green space there.
Yeah.
And then my another, concern is like the seating area is right next to the car. So that.
Oh, like the backs are right. Yeah. No.
Yeah, they have similar things at the Chipotle in the Target Plaza, and it's very awkward to sit on those chairs. And then sometimes people are sitting in the cars with the engine running, and it's quite unpleasant.
Seeing areas sort of too close to cars.
I did see a sign when I was visiting my cousin's wedding this past weekend in Chicago that said no idling allowed. So perhaps that could be something we could implement in this, just to ensure that people aren't like breathing in fumes,
Good suggestion, Chelsea.
And that extra parking space that we talked
Could be a
about.
street tree.
What's that?
Could be a street tree.
Right. Yeah, it could be trees instead of cement.
Okay, those are great comments. Did you guys want to add anything else we can pass on to the planning board and the applicant?
Is a larger umbrellas a weird one?
I don't think the street furniture is but larger umbrellas.
Because I love the idea of having a place to go. Like I really like the Broken Inn concept. I think it's cool to be able to walk to a bar and have ice cream, and it's just like a new area to get to. But for sure, they're going to cook in the summertime, so that would be helpful.
Yeah, agreed that all in all, love the direction of the pedestrian.
I would like to take this opportunity to get input from our student representative, because this seems to be a sort of spot where young people could be attracted to. So Niskayuna High School, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I've been to Broken Inn like a time.
Is your microphone on?
Oh, is this?
Yeah, make sure it's on.
Okay, yeah. So I've been there, and I think it's a good concept for to have a place where people can go together. Because I know people from my high school go there. I think it's a good idea. I think it just needs to be a little bit. There has to be more green space in the area, like with the permeable pavement and things like that. Because I don't like the idea of the white concrete either. And maybe putting the, I don't know, what are they, planters around the benches, just provide a barrier between the car and the benches, not just around where the people are sitting to eat there. And also I think black seating will absorb a lot of sunlight. So.
Yeah, it gets hot.
Yeah, I think it'll be very hot in the summer, especially the benches were just open like that.
Yeah, even if they just change those to wood benches.
Yeah, that would it would
less.
make it a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think we need to have a plan how to deal with trash. Because I do
Yeah.
remember when the ShopRite grocery store was built, I was very disappointed to see many cigarettes all over around the ShopRite, and that was really a disappointment for me. And
That's a really
we
good point.
have to have a plan how to deal with, like,
Trash, cigarettes. I also put snow removal from your other point. That's a really good idea.
If there are no further comments, can we move on to the next discussion item, 2837 Aqueduct Road? I believe this is our second look at the senior center at the new Aqueduct Road property.
Yeah, this one we can do pretty fast actually because they haven't done updated plans yet. So really, the only thing that I wanted to put on the agenda for you guys to know is that I know you went back and forth and you did a pretty significant recommendation on the height of the building. It did get approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals, so it is allowed to be the 41 feet. And their next step is going to be to revise these plans per the comments, partly that came from you, partly that came from Complete Streets, Planning Board, and Tree Council. So really, it's just an update. I know you're looking at it a lot, and I just wanted to let you guys know that the height did get approved at the same meeting, actually, that the Rosada Mart went to. So they had a lot of cases that night. So the height of that building will be 41 feet. And then probably next month, I'll have updated plans for you to really dive into. Just an update on that one for you.
And this would be the sort of place where things like pesticides and,
So if you remember,
planting.
yeah, Chuck was actually here at the last meeting, and you guys said to him, "Can you do pesticide free on this building?" And he did say that he would check.
Okay.
But we're gonna have to continually push that because it may be easy for him to be like, probably, but
Yeah.
then when the maintenance guys are out there, so.
Okay. All right. We will move on to reports. So first is the natural resources inventory. I know the town board did something, and I was in camping in Cape Cod while that happened. So Laura, could you explain what happened on Thursday? the 25th of the-
I'm still in the process of listening to that meeting fully,
Okay.
but I believe there was a resolution acknowledging the NRI.
Okay.
So that was what we wanted them to do.
Okay.
And as far as I know, it all went well. I'm
Okay.
still listening to the meeting. I was camping in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. So, we both missed it, although I love Cape Cod.
Okay.
But I think it was fine. And I think that they really did appreciate all the hard work. I know I listened to the supervisor's report, and she was very thankful for all the hard work and excited about the first part. And so I think, like what we had talked about is okay. So we've done part one. The town board has said, yep, there's part one. So now we could work on the next part.
Sure. Sure. So there are some, recommendations in part one, like, doing the hiking trail through the community center forest. I just want to get everyone's input on, do you think we should focus on following through on the recommendations in phase one? I think the main recommendation as an action item would be the hiking trail, or we can move on to a phase two where we would start surveying like 5 other small parcels, say.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you could do either.
Okay. So if you're all looking at me like my students when I asked them, like, did you do the reading? Did you do beam deflection section 9.1 before coming to class? Like, no, did not do the reading. You guys don't know what recommendation I'm talking about, don't you? So it's It's the community center forest. That's the one near the town pool. There was one of the properties surveyed, and during the walkthrough, we had a lot of community input about potentially having a hiking trail through it to make that space more accessible to the people who are already there for a variety of reasons, like swimming pool. There's lacrosse fields there. There's a pavilion there for community events. So, but developing a hiking trail through that property takes work. On the other hand, starting phase 2 of the natural resources inventory takes work too, and all of this work is done by volunteers. So if anybody do you guys have any thoughts?
I guess my initial thought is if, to choose one, it would be the hiking trail to, show action and accomplishment from the first phase before moving to the second.
Yeah. Okay. So, Chelsea, did you have any comment or remark on that?
I'm always an advocate for more hiking trails. I think it's a great
Always.
idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was,
so
has anyone been to those hiking trails at the crossings?
a long time ago.
In back there, I don't know what we're thinking here, but they're, I don't know. They're, I forget actually, maybe they're not paved, but they're wide, 10 feet wide, 5 feet wide, and with lights.
Oh.
So the lights were interesting. It was just something I was thinking about when we were talking about this, because I had never been to those hiking trails. And they were,
Yeah, so they're actually most of the recommendations. So the community forest had formalized, build that trail. There's already kind of like a herd path in there, right?
Yeah.
And then Blatnick Park was continue the Lomo initiatives that have been going well. Oh, by the way, Roy sent I should send it to you guys. Roy sent an update on the
Yeah, I got
Lomo.
it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and he
did,
was
yeah.
very happy because
Yeah.
they did a lot of bird surveys and tagging, and the Lomo seemed to have worked pretty good out there. And then for Stanford Park, it was connect the trails. I think eventually you can connect those trails all the way to the Albany Pine Bush if you tried. And then the Mohawk Hudson Bike Hike Trail is working potentially with the property owner to try and secure that as for conservation. So yeah, I feel like we can move forward on those items if that's.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
I suppose, and this is just me thinking, if we wanted to work on a trail, you'd probably have to, I don't know how much you guys can do, but you'd probably have to get a group of volunteers that would, go to the supervisor or the town board and say, hey, we want to put a trail in. Like, what do you need from us? Like, how can we get started? Because I know that, like, the John Brown trails in Blatnick Park were maintained and built by volunteers.
mhm.
So maybe that could be a separate group of trail building volunteers.
Well, people have actually asked me for that. Like, hey, I know how to
Make trails.
make trails and work a spade and rake and all that. Like, how can I help? Like, not many people, but
But
a
of
couple
course,
of people have,
that would be
have
like-
asked me.
probably a good meeting to have with the supervisor and the highway department, because once
Okay.
you build trails, like,
Okay.
it's very easy to build them, but are the volunteers going to be responsible for maintaining them? Like, what's
Okay.
going to be expected? That type of thing.
So, can I email the supervisor and ask for a meeting?
Yeah, I feel like that'd be the next step.
Okay. All right.
I'll finish listening to the town board meeting too and let you know if anything comes up, but I think it
Okay.
was fine. I didn't hear anything about it.
Okay. Okay. So again, I'm happy to take the lead on it, but I will ask my minions. No, I'm not even the chair, but I'll ask you all for help. Lomo biodiversity initiatives update. So Laura, what's the status on the Blacknick Hill? Like, is there an agreement with the highway department about what will be mowed and when?
So there's two sections of Blatnick Park that mowing changed this year. There's
Okay.
ours
Okay.
that Ellen worked on the signs for, which is off of Riverdale.
The
Riverhill.
driving range.
Yes, and those signs are up,
Okay.
and it did seem to be going successfully.
Okay.
And that I haven't been out there in a little while. I was out there like a month ago, and it was okay.
Okay.
But I'll probably have to check on it soon. But haven't gotten any complaints.
Mhm.
Think that's all fine. They put the signs up. Ellen thought they looked really good.
Mhm.
Roy and the highway department came to an agreement on what's mowed around the disc golf course.
Okay.
And he has those maps. That was also implemented this summer. And Roy sent a report to the different committees about a week ago, just summarizing the birds that they had informally surveyed on the cap.
Oh, we should write it up on the CAC webpage as a
Yeah.
success story.
One of the boards thought about that, didn't they, Clark? Oh, well, yeah, I think it might have been I can't remember who said that, but yeah, potentially we could put his report on the CAC website or something.
Mhm.
We should put our NRI on our website now
Mhm.
too. That if it's been to the town board.
Okay.
Yeah, let me work on that website.
Laura,
Yeah, but
I
that's me though.
Okay.
Lomo
Okay.
updates and NRI. Just upload those documents. Might take me a little while. Feel free to poke me, Ashok.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I can do that. I have those capabilities. Okay. So anyway, I think they went really well. Roy was happy. Ellen was happy. Signs are up. Things didn't get mowed. We'll see how it goes in the fall.
Okay. Climate Smart Communities Program update.
I can't remember if I told you this the last time. We're still trying to do the compost day. Ooh, I'm running out of time on that a little bit. But we did get another $5,000 award because enough people signed up for the Solarize Niskayuna campaign, which we're going to use to buy LED lights for one of our parks. So one of those giant floodlights is going to be reduced to, even though it's a giant light, like a 12-watt LED floodlight. So we got a $5,000 grant for a compost day, and we're submitting now a $5,000 grant for LED lighting. And hopefully, with a little bit more effort, we could get a $15,000 award, which I would like to put towards purchasing another EV car for our fleet and trying to get people the same deal that the town gets so that they could jump on board if they want to buy an EV car.
Laura, off the top of your head, do you know any funding opportunities to build a hiking trail? Like if you want to pay somebody.
So it's not that isn't a climate smart thing to do, but it is not typically funded through climate smart
Okay.
initiatives. They'll do there was a trail grant though. I mean, that one that we were trying for required public access to it, that DEC grant.
Yeah, community forest program.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that deadline's long gone.
I know. That was actually one of the first ones that I saw that really kind of needed public infrastructure for conservation though.
Okay.
I'll have to think about it. I'll think about it.
Okay.
I don't know of them off the top of my head though.
Okay. Okay, that was the last item on the agenda. Does anyone have any other business they would like to bring to the attention? Okay, I make a motion to adjourn the September 2022 meeting of the Conservation Advisory Council. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? No. The September 2022 meeting of the Conservation Advisory Council is hereby adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Bye.
Yes, thank you, Chelsea.